welcome to the Love, Listen, Talk, Repeat podcast. I'm Wendy Capewell, your relationship specialist, and this podcast is all about things relating and affecting relationships. I'll be interviewing guests who are experts in their profession, learning more about what they do and how they help others. In some episodes, I'll be sharing some insights and tips of my own. So settle back and enjoy. Hello, it's Wendy, and today I'm going to be introducing Micheal Hilton. Now, I met Micheal about 4 years ago, and one of the things that we did together was a workshop. We were both guest speakers at a workshop, and the one thing that really touched me with Micheal was his story. He told his story during that workshop and how he has changed his life, and I really admired him, and I've watched this young man just grow from strength to strength, and I totally admire him. He's brilliant. So his introduction of himself is one fucked up, lying, cheating, stealing, stressed out alcoholic with suicidal thoughts to a father, husband, entrepreneur, living a fun, loving, extraordinary life. And to be honest, I've seen that transformation, and I wanted to introduce you to Micheal. So I'm going to hand you over. Come and tell us more about you, Micheal, and what you do.
Thanks for the introduction, Wendy, and it's nice to be here. And so a little bit about myself. Where to start, really? Like my life now is very different to what it was coming up to, well, it's 12 and a half years ago, really. My life is very different to what it was then. You know, my life was pretty much, my cup was always half empty. I was stressed out. I was negative. Could always see the problem in a solution. Was never happy. I was very, very unhappy, very disconnected from life. And I was addicted to cocaine and alcohol, which later, as I've gone through this journey, I kind of realised how powerful that stuff was to help me cope with life, because it wasn't really about the drink and the drugs. It was more about who I was being in the world and me, and trying to suppress how I was feeling in the world. So my journey started off, you know, I remember back to, I remember it well. I remember my very last drink, and I remember when I just got, I remember when I listened to this voice. That's what I call it now, as the voice. Mm. People call it wisdom, insight. I call it all of that, wisdom, insight. Some people say they spoke to God. Some people say they were touched by the hand of God. Some woman told me that Jesus was speaking to me. I don't know. I just call it the voice. And that voice has always been there, and it's always spoken to me. But there's a very different distinction between the voice is what I call in my head, what was the sound of 1,000 chattering monkeys, what was all about fear, resentments, anger, telling me to do things and that weren't within my best interest, versus that voice that people call it gut intuition as well. Now, it's another good way of putting it, what a lot of people will connect with, that gut intuition. And I remember after a lot of turmoil in my life with my drinking and drugs and that I actually listened to that voice that kind of encouraged me to get help. There was a different way of living. There was a new way, because I remember coming back to my mum's house after another drinking and drug episode, and I was there, and I was just kind of like, is this what my life is going to be for the rest of my life? Like, there's got to be more for me. And I listened to that voice, and my life went through some changes up to about 4.5 years ago, where that voice had to start screaming at me again, where I had a really profound change of experience and got a deeper understanding of me, and listening to that voice at a deeper understanding now. So that's basically where I was to this point where we're speaking now, Wendy.
Yeah, and I think what really drew me to you was your vulnerability and your ability to share that, because that takes an awful lot of courage to share that with not only admit it to ourselves, but to share that with others. And I think, that was really what I noticed so much about you, that you were able to do that and say, okay, this is where I've been and this is what I don't want to be there anymore. So what do you do now? How do you know what's goes on for you now?
So it's funny because this has evolved for me. So I got into, I was a personal trainer. That was, I just share this with you. Like, I remember wanting to do something different. So I was working on building sites. I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted to do something different in my life, and I was into fitness. So I started getting into fitness a little bit more. And then I went and done my qualification to be a personal trainer, and that scared the hell out of me because I'd never done anything like that. I'd come out of school with 0 qualifications, right? And I remember it sitting there just about to go into class, and I phoned what at the time was my sponsor when I was in recovery, and I said to him, I have never been so frightened in my life, and I've never done anything like this. And he was just like, look, it's okay, take it slowly, go in there anyway. So I went in there, and it kind of evolved over time. I thought that was my thing, and it's evolved over time to when I really got into personal development and stuff like that, about really helping people with the mind, because I see a lot of people, specifically in personal training, that were getting good results, but they'd always go back to the way there was, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So I really started studying and learning about psychology, what makes humans tick, and about the mind, and that kind of evolved and grew. And I was got into coaching, and I started coaching people, and I was coaching women, and that was my thing, and I was enjoying that. And I never in a million years ever thought it would evolve to what I am doing now, because I always said I didn't want to work with men. Men are egotistical. Yeah, they're full of ego and pride. They don't want to change. Women, basically, they like this stuff. Women talk, men die. Women are a lot more open to this. Men ain't. They shut down. So I was coaching women, but then through some events in my life, it led me on this journey into men's work, which completely just transformed everything for me. I went on this journey into men's work, which really got some deeper understanding of what it meant to be a man, because I was confused about that, who I was, my roles in the world. And then what happened is I was like, I've got to share this with other men. I've got to help other men with this, and that took me on that journey, Wendy, to start. I started finding that there was a lot more guys coming to me and asking what I was doing and what had changed, and they could see a big difference. And then I still coach women, but majority of it now is men's retreats, coaching men. I'm just about to launch like a coaching. It's like a coaching training program that's going to be for men to come into that want to kind of reignite their lives. That's basically where a lot of my time and attention is going now, is really helping men, and it's become a big passion for me. And I've found why that was so important to me, especially dads. I found that through this process, why it's so meaning for me to do that, Wendy. So
yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that men close, they're so egotistical, they don't relate. But there are reasons why they're like that. I mean, I work with men and women, and just men have to put on that brave face. They have to portray that. And it is just a facade, isn't it? As you very well know. It's just they've put that mantle on, that cloak on, because they can't open up. They're not taught as children, because if a little boy falls over, he's told, get up, don't be stupid, you're not a girl, stop acting like a girl. Little girls are cuddled if they fall over. So they're not shown it's not modelled how to show your emotions, is it, as a guy? And then all that kind of stuff that we go through growing up, boys are given maybe not so much nowadays, there's been a change, all that change in the ways that boys have to be, the games they play or the projects they do and all of that stuff, it really makes a definition between the two. So boys, and then men are supposed to be the hunter-gatherers, where the women are the nurturers. There's all of that stuff. So it's not surprising that men find it so more difficult to show their emotions or get in touch with stuff. And I think you've opened that up more by working with men and noticing Yeah, they're not as they portray themselves to be, but it feels shaming if they do.
See, one of the things that I say to guys that come to my workshops or my retreat is my job isn't necessarily to teach you anything new. My job is to remove the bullshit and the layers that you've surrounded around yourself that stop you being your authentic self. And we have to go back to when it all started. It all started like in the when we started going from agriculture to the industrial age, and when we went from that, and then when the wars started, because we took men that were very. So if you talk about the hunter-gatherer, we would go out and hunt, kill, come back, and then we would share the food among our tribe. Right, we would be in this tribal situation. Men would sit with their families. Men would be in this tribal situation. Right, so then in the agricultural, the kids would help out on the farm. The family would be involved. It was a very family-orientated thing. Yeah. And then when men come from that and went into work, they were taken away from their families. They're working long hours, right? So then that just becomes the norm, right? So just think of it like this: when smoking come about, like everywhere you went, everyone was smoking. Doctors said it was healthy for you, right? You'd smoke in the doctor's office. You'd go in there and the doctors would be smoking, and they said it's healthy for you. It's the norm, right? Yeah. That become the norm for so long, and no one see a problem with it until things advanced to a point where they said, hold on a minute, actually, we've got that wrong. Smoking is very harmful for you, and it's actually killing people. And what's happened here is we've gone from this agricultural to the industrial, and then guys went to war. And think about this, when men went to war, their emotions were fucking drilled out of them because you don't have time to experience emotion here. It's kill or be killed, right? Yeah. And what's happened is from the war and that, and all these guys, they've shut down emotionally, right? They're not allowed to express their emotions because that's bad. You don't do that. And then what they do now is we're having kids. These guys are having kids, and it's going through their lineage of their family where big boys don't cry, don't show your emotions, right? Yeah. So then grows up with that, and then the kid has a kid, and then the kid tells his kid that, and it just comes down. And what I've seen is this pattern interrupts, like what we were saying, is like now for me, it's like, right, this is the pattern interrupt. Cigarettes are fucking awful for you. Not showing your emotions is fucking awful for you, because it is no coincidence that 8 men to 1 woman kill themselves. A man kills himself every hour. I think it's an hour every hour and a half through suicide. Why the fuck is that happening, right? Because guys would rather kill themselves than say, I feel isolated, I feel alone, I don't feel good enough, I feel shameful for the mistakes that I've made. They would rather fucking kill themselves than say, I'm fucked up or I'm struggling. So you have to go back to see why that's happened, because it's trickling down through the lineage for men that they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to show because they've never been shown it. They've never been shown it.
Exactly. I totally agree with you that. And it is so hard for them, and they just, as you say, they feel that shame. I shouldn't feel like this, and I do think it's. I'm not saying it's harder for a man, but I think they have their different issues, which you're highlighting. They've got different shame, they've got different issues, they've got different struggles, and I think it is hard for guys, and that they find it much harder to seek help or to say how they're feeling, whereas women will just spew it out. They'll scream and shout, and when they feel that their menfolk aren't responding, what they do is they shout louder, and the guy retreats more and more because he doesn't know how to deal with that. And so you end up with this vicious cycle, because she's saying, but you're not talking to me, you're not talking to me. But if somebody keeps on at you and saying you're not talking to me, and you don't know how to express yourself, so you're just going to go, yeah, well, I can't do it, and you're getting at me, and the only thing I know is just shut down.
And the one thing that guys do know what to do, this is one thing guys do know what to do, is the one thing they've been told, and that's, I will just fucking work long hours, because that will really avoid any kind of uncomfortable feelings with my wife, right? Yeah. I will also avoid any uncomfortable feelings with my kids. I don't really know how to be around my kids. So if I go back to me 4.5 years ago, what really led me on this journey into masculinity, right? I got sober. My life was going okay, right? It was going okay on the outside. I was talking a good game, but not really living a good game. I was confused inside, and I was building a business. And as this business started to grow and grow and grow, I was throwing myself more into business. And here's the backwards thinking. My wife said, like, I was just married and I was confused as fuck about that. I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm like, shit, I eat hamburgers every night now. What do I do? Like, my belief was kind of like, you know, if I get tied down, I will never be able to go and have sex with anyone else. I had all these misunderstandings about commitment in my, you know, which I never shared with anyone, right? Never shared with anyone. I'm a father to a baby. I don't know how to be around this baby. I find it really awkward and clunky and uncomfortable because I just don't know how to be. So I know what to do. To avoid all those uncomfortable feelings, I will just throw myself into business because it gives me some kind of purpose and significance in my life, Wendy, because I'm making money, right? So I started doing that, and then my life was a shit show on the inside. And then what happened is when that went, right, and it left me to, right, now it's time that you face this stuff, I was confused, really confused. And I see this with a lot of men. This is why guys spend so much time at work, in their business or at work, because they're getting some kind of significance there. If they're a boss, they're getting significance because they're making money and they've got power over people, but they go home and their life's a shit show with their families and their kids because they don't know how to be, right? And again, their physical health. You know, their body's crumbling away. They're full of aches and pains. They've got no energy. But if I stay at work and make money, because we're taught that, okay, get a job, go to work, get good grades, get a job, make money. And that's what men are being programmed to do. And they think that that's all they're good for. And they don't look at any other aspects of their life. They just think that their self-worth is tied into their net worth, right? So if I've got lots of money in the bank, I'm a success. How many fucking times have I heard that, Wendy?
Yeah.
From people. Oh, you know, I want to be as successful as him. Okay, how are you measuring that? Oh, he makes lots of money. Right, okay. What about the other areas of his life? Because there's more than one area to be successful in. Oh, you know, he's always out cheating on his wife. He drinks, takes drugs, he don't see his kids. But he's a success in business, you know? And this is the problem we're facing with men that are completely disconnected and shut off, like I was, completely disconnected. And I'm only sharing from my own experience and the experience I'm having with other guys is I was completely shut off from that. I was confused as fuck. I had a lot of misunderstandings about commitment, about being a father. My father wasn't in my life. So my life was a shit show. And so I was forced to see it.
Yeah. So you had no role model, no positive role model as a father.
No, my granddad. My granddad was like my role model, and he was great. But you know, I didn't have a dad that was in my life. Really, no, not at all. No, he wasn't in my life, not at all.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that men will, because they don't know how to deal with certain areas of their life, they retreat to what they know or what they feel they should be doing, which is making money, which is providing for the family that they can't emotionally connect with.
Yeah, because we're in an age where everyone's told, like, and this even comes from personal development, and this is kind of where I've took myself away from personal development so much with my stuff, is about, you know, I love personal development, but there's a large part of it is about, if you feel bad, you've got to do something to make yourself feel good, right? Now here's a problem: when you don't allow yourself to express all the feelings that you experience, right? If you wasn't supposed to experience any kind of uncomfortable feelings, you wouldn't have them, right? There's an indicator there, right? And when we don't allow ourselves to express those uncomfortable feelings, so like my life is a shit show with my wife, right? We're struggling. There's really uncomfortable conversation to have there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to spend long hours at work, and I'm going to spend a lot of time sedating my life with drinking drugs or watching porn or doing things like that, right? I'm just pulling myself further and further away from my wife because I'm not leaning into that uncomfortable feeling and like allowing myself to go through that. Where a lot of people, like, for example, experience fear around something. They'll experience fear and they won't go there or do anything with it or go through the fear because, that feels uncomfortable. I shouldn't experience that. So I need to numb and sedate my life. And this is the problem with guys, is they're not allowing themselves to feel what's really going on the biggest misconception that I see, Wendy, and I'll make sure I don't get too much of my soapbox on this, right? But the biggest misconception that I see is people believing that the root, like our purpose in life, is happiness. The
Right.
purpose of life is to experience life. And to experience life, there's good, there's bad, right? And to have this belief, and I speak to guys about this, they're like, I just want to be happy. And I'm like, that, great, you can. There's a difference between being happy and being fulfilled, right? You can be fulfilled. I feel fulfilled in my life, even though things ain't always going great, right? I can still be fulfilled in that, to see that I'm creating that experience that's come from me, and I can do something to change that, right? To think that my life is always going to be happy. If my kid walked out in the road and got run down, God forbid that never happens, and he was killed, I'm not going to be happy about that, right? I'm not going to be happy about that. So to think that our lives have always got to be happy, and this is one of the problems I see with people when I speak to them about this, is like, I just want to be happy. And I'm like, well, I get that. You can be fulfilled and you can have a lot of happiness in your life. But the purpose of life is not happiness. The purpose of life is to experience life. And to experience life, you're going to have good emotions. And to experience life, you're going to have uncomfortable emotions. That's where the growth is in those uncomfortable emotions and those feelings. And when you deny that and avoid that, you're not growing as a person, because you're running away and trying to feel good all the time.
Yeah. And I so agree with you. And I think what happens is that people, when they start feeling those uncomfortable feelings, because it feels uncomfortable, is that upset, that fear, that distress, that whatever it is, they hate it so much. And we're told by everybody in the world, the media and everything, that we should, just be happy. But that fear is still there, and so they retreat from it, but they keep going through the same fear, the same uncomfortableness, instead of working through it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and there's one of the things I have with certain types of therapy, namely CBT, solution focus, is what they say is just keep thinking happy, keep thinking positive. Now, for me, I liken that to somebody falling over in the road. They've got a handful of gravel, or their knee full of gravel, and they just stick a plaster on it. Now, if you just stick a plaster on it without cleaning up the wound, it will fester and it will keep causing problems. And that's how I see it. You can't keep working through it until you find the root of it. Allow your body, which is holding it all within you, you're holding that trauma inside. And until you work through that, there's no way you can begin to heal. And I know the number of people that have come to me. I had one client that came to me. She had a lot of physical symptoms. And when we talked, she was in pain. She was suffering ill health constantly. She talked about the traumas in her life. But when I said, well, it's the traumas in your life that are manifesting themselves in your body because you aren't prepared to work through it and process it. And she got so angry with me, and we didn't continue working with each other because she wasn't prepared to accept. But you can't separate your body and your emotions.
No, and I love that what you said about it's something that I've been exploring a lot lately in the spiritual bypassing world, because that's something that we get into. It's like, and people are selling this shit to people out there, and like positive thinking, and I would say I give up positive thinking because it made me fucking miserable, right? Because to believe that I'm always going to be positive and I'm never going to have a negative thought, right? So this is my experience. So I'm going to be positive. I'm always going to be positive. Something would come up and I would see, and I would judge it as negative. Then I would beat myself up and go, "You're such a failure. You can't even be positive all the time. You can't even do that." And I see it so much with people hiding behind this mask of maybe I just need to be more positive. Or maybe not. Maybe just experience what you experience. Allow yourself to experience that. Feel through that. And on the other side of that is freedom. right? It's freedom. When you keep running away from that, or chucking positive thinking, or maybe I need to meditate longer, or maybe I need to be more spiritual, and that, they're all good. They're all useful things, right? They're useful things. I use something called positive focus, right? Positive focus. Right. Okay. Here is a problem. What did I learn from it? Right. What's the positive from it? Right. But I'm not trying to chuck positive thinking at it, going, oh, my kid's just been run over. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm okay. Yeah. Okay. It's all right. I'm happy. I'm good. I'm happy. Because it's a bit of a fallacy.
Still in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Still in there.
And what you're doing is you're pushing down those, what it's doing for men, and women do it as well, but what it's doing it for men is it's not allowing them to feel what they're already trying not to feel. So it's pushing it down further and further. I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that. I'm not supposed to feel that. Right. And it's just not helpful. It's not helpful in my eyes. It's not helpful,
I completely agree with you. It's not helpful. It just stays in there, and it's like a cancer that just is eating away at that person, and they get to the point where they disconnect to such a degree they don't even know what is wrong. They don't know who they are. They don't know what their feelings are. They don't know what the struggle is. They don't know where it came from. They don't know how to deal with it. It just is. They just disconnect from it, and that is really unhealthy. And you're right. So many men, they do it an awful lot. As you say, I think women are, I don't know, we're programmed, our genetics, whatever, we're more able to get in touch with our emotions, where men, as we've already talked about, they aren't able to do it. That's really sad, because they see themselves, as you say, as a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not failure because, one, they haven't got the tools, they don't know. How can you know what you don't know? Can't. But if you actually are prepared to look at it, you're not a failure, because it means I don't know, so I'm going to find out. I'm going to do something about it.
And it answered so much for me when I started exploring this as to why I sedated my life with drink and drugs so much. Because of these uncomfortable feelings. And I don't experience these uncomfortable feelings or I'll tell you what, when I got sober, my ex-girlfriend left me. She said to me, you're fucking worse sober than you are drunk, right? Because I started experiencing these emotions and feelings, and I'm like, what the fuck are these things? I've never experienced these before.
No.
I remember experiencing them, and I was just off the scale with like my behaviour and my anger and things like that. And this is what men are struggling with. They're really struggling with this fact of allowing themselves to be vulnerable. I've always got, some of the masks that men wear is always got to know everything. We know that guy, right? He's never wrong. So I'm going to describe myself. Got to know everything, right? Always right, never wrong. It's always someone else's fault. It's not mine. Yeah. How I look, how I look is more important than how I feel, right? And I just wore so many masks that I didn't know who I was, Wendy. And I lost who I was. And if I was lost to know who I was, my relationship with my wife and kid was going to be a fucking shit show, because my relationship with myself was terrible. Now, one thing I always say to my boy, I taught my boy this, is I always say to him, who do you love the most? Right? So he used to say, Mummy, Daddy, Aiden. Now we've got another little girl called Hope, right? But what I taught him to do is say, who do you love the most? Who do you love first? And he says, me. I said, good. Because if you love yourself first, right, you will find it a lot easier to love others, right? You'll find it a lot easier to love others. So he always says me first. Then he says Mummy. Obviously, Mummy's above Daddy. Then Daddy. Then I think Aiden comes last now. I think Hope, a baby girl, comes next, and then Hope, and then Aiden. But it's important, right? But here's the thing: we operate from we're operating from love or fear, Wendy. Yeah, fear of losing what we've got, or fear of not getting what we want. Right? Now, look at this. Guys will refuse to ever acknowledge that they're fearful, right? So they're denying that what's happening. And the other operating system is love. We're operating from love. And guys think that's mushy and weak and shit, and men don't own up to that. So two operating systems that men are operating from, men are trying to deny it, and no wonder our lives are so fucking painful, because that's how we're operating. We're either operating from love, right, or we're operating from fear, losing what we've got or not getting what we want.
Yeah. And I think, what about the guys who's, they actually feel that, I think it's inane again, that they've got to fix everything.
Yeah. That's, yeah. Go on, sorry, go on, Wendy.
No, go ahead. I want your opinion on that one.
So from my experience, I'll share this from my experience. So I do this work. So I've just come back from a couples retreat. I don't know what a date, whatever. I've just come back from a couples retreat with my wife. And a lot of people have said to me, are you both okay? Like, are you okay, the pair of you? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I'm on a couples retreat. Are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, listen, you got a laptop and you want to get a new laptop, what do? They say, we upgrade. Oh, you want to get a new phone, what do? Upgrade. You want to get a car? Oh, we upgrade. Okay. We want to upgrade our relationship from good to extraordinary, right? We the biggest killer of any relationship or with yourself and others is complacency. When you get complacent in your life, in your relationship, right, you will fucking struggle. So we want to upgrade. And I've completely gone off on a tangent. It was leading somewhere, but what was the question?
About the fixing. Yeah, the fix.
Fixing. So we've gone on this retreat. I do this work. So when my wife has come to me with stuff, I've always tried to fix her. I've not listened to her. I've not heard her. I've tried to fix her. So we've gone on this retreat and we've just come back this weekend, and there was plenty of space for us to sit down and hear the other person, right? It was one of the exercises. Listen. Don't let my ego get involved. Listen. And one of the things that I really took away from that, and I said at the end, is I have spent so much time not listening to I listen to my wife, but I don't hear my wife. Okay? I listen to her and then try and fix her or try and do something that I think that she needs. Yeah. Right? But I never actually heard her. And actually, funny enough, last night we was making new agreements in our relationship, and I asked her about that. I said, what do you need? She said, sometimes I just want to talk to you and I don't need you to try and fix me. She said, I'll ask you if I need your opinion on something. I'm like, okay. So I think as a man myself, and what I see of a lot of others is, they say it's hardwired in our brain is to fix stuff. We're always trying to fix. I remember a guy saying to me once with what I do, he said, I could never, ever in a million years ask for help. He said, I'm the one that fixes people. I'm the one that's out there fixing. And what you tend to find, the guy that's always fixing is trying to avoid something in his own life, right? I've always got the answers. I know best, right? This isn't what coaching is, by the way. I don't know what's best for someone else's life. No. I help people and find out what they want for life, what they want, what's important to them. So I think it comes from that place of one of the masks that I have to have the answers for everything, and I've got to know everything. So if that's the case, I've got to look at the guy that fixes everything, and it could be tiring. It could be very tiring.
It's such a responsibility.
Yeah.
So stressful. I've got to fix it. And I guess what I hear quite often, you're right. I mean, what you're saying, I'm nodding, because that's what I see with clients. Well, I've got to fix it. Or they say, I'm hearing. No, you're not listening. You're not listening. You're listening. You're listening, but you're not hearing. And I think people put their own spin on it. So if I were to say to you, oh, I'm feeling tired, instead of saying, what is making you tired? What is it? And I can remember this from my husband. When I said, oh, I'm just tired. You do too much outside the house, was his absolute response. And he wasn't listening to what it was. What is making you tired? Why do you feel tired? What are you tired of? And it is that the questioning, the real hearing, because when his view was, I was tired because I was doing too much out the house instead of concentrating. I'm too busy and I should be concentrating inside the house. He wasn't listening to me. And I hear that so often because we put our own spin on it instead of really hearing and saying, what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
And I think one word can mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people.
Yeah,
because how do we learn what words mean? We learn it from our caregivers, our parents. So it's about emotions. If somebody said, as you're growing up, oh, you must feel upset because you fell over. Whenever you fell over, you'd say, oh, well, upset, falling over, crying means they're all connected. But it could be that you're not feeling upset. Somebody else could say, I'm feeling angry because I tripped over something someone left in the room. And so, but the trouble is we take it from our own map of the world and not listening to what the other person's map is.
Yeah, definitely. And I see this a lot with guys. Is like, oh, you know, like fixing, come back to fixing. Well, if they done this or if she done that, that would be better. And I'm like, yeah, based on what? Based on what? Well, they should do that because it'd be better. Yeah, but based on what? How you see the world, right? So let's reverse this. So if your wife or your partner starts saying to you, you should do this, you should do that, how do you react? And you go, well, it annoys me. Okay, but it's okay for you to do it, right? So I think is what we try to do is we're always trying to fix and please people, right? So what changed for me there is I come from a place of serving. And when I talk of love, right, is serving, and sometimes that is tough love, right, and being direct and honest, right, not being brutally honest when people say, I'm just brutally honest. No, you're a fucking arsehole and you're just telling people stuff that isn't actually going to help them. You're just being an arse. But within my coaching, things like that, is I just want to be honest with people and be straight and direct because that's what I like myself, that will shake them and wake them up around a certain area of their life that they're struggling with, right? So, you know, for example, if you're struggling in your relationship, right, and then you're using that as an excuse to go and put you're going to sleep with other women behind her back, right? That isn't because of your relationship or your wife. That is a choice you're making. So, like that's not no one else's fault except yourself, right? Because you always hear someone that goes and has an affair. Oh yeah, the story comes. Yeah, well, I did do that, but it happened because No, it happened because you chose to go and make that happen, right? Instead of staying there and working through the uncomfortable feelings and working on your relationship, you've chose to go for the easier, softer option and go and sleep with another person, which ultimately isn't going to be any easier and softer on yourself because now you're fucking struggling even more, right? Because you've got that guilt, shame, remorse, and now you've got a wife that's unhappy with you because, you know, I don't know about anyone else, but if I went and done that, I don't think my wife would like it too much. I don't think women like that too much when their husband's going cheating them. I don't know. I could be like misunderstood there, Wendy, but but it's very easy to get into that kind of getting into the stories and justifying what we're doing, right, and not taking ownership.
And I would, quite agree with you. And I wonder, I have this view about this, the world we live in is one of instant gratification. Yeah. If I want something right this minute, if I want to order something online, I can get it tomorrow. If I want anything, I can get it now. And because the internet's there, we get to the point where, if technology goes wrong, we get annoyed because, it should be working. We should have it and we must have it and we ought to have it and we're entitled to it. And we get this thing about, well, if my relationship's not working, there must be something wrong with the relationship and therefore that looks more inviting. And so rather than stay with it, because you know, if you upgrade your mobile phone, yes, you get that instant feeling of excitement and pleasure, but it doesn't last because after a while that mobile phone will just be another thing. And so the dopamine, you're not getting that dopamine rush, that kick that you've got with that. And that's what's happening with relationships. And what I'm seeing is, it's not working. And he looks better than me. She looks more attractive. Let's go and have an affair. Let's go and try somebody else because sex isn't working. She's not talking to me. She's paying attention. He's whatever. And so therefore, instead of sticking with it, they go from one relationship to another. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Like when I was deep in this and really struggling, I would sit there and I said to my wife, I was sitting there and in my head, I'm like, you know, when we were struggling, arguing, fighting, you know, I was completely like, sex was pretty, not non-existent, but it was very few and far between. We wasn't connected. And I'd be sitting there blaming her for that and sitting there thinking, I should have married someone else. I should have been with someone else, right? I never went outside our relationship, but that was constantly what I thought, right? Because I'm blaming the relationship. Here's the thing that I see, Wendy, is when people try and fix their relationship, it usually entails one person trying to fix the other. And what I would say, if you want to fix your fucking relationship, work on yourself. Right? Regardless whether the other person's on board or not, you work on yourself, because this is what happened is I continue to work on myself, grow and grow and grow. And my wife is very, very intuitive, very bright. You know, she's an amazing woman. But what happened was as I kept working on me, she got to a point where she would openly admit she wasn't doing a lot of work herself on herself. She had 3 kids. She kind of got a little bit lost. But now she's working on herself, right? We went on a couples retreat, and our relationship has got closer together. Not because I'm like, I need to fix, even though I did slip into that a bit, Wendy, but I wasn't trying to tell her what she needed to do in the relationship. I was just working on me. I need to work on me. My wife needs to work on her. And then we can come together and co-create a relationship that is beyond anything that we could ever imagine. Beyond anything you ever imagine. If you've been in a relationship, I've been with my wife 10 years, right? We've been married for 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 4 years now. We've been married for I have to do that. I have to count. I'm numbers. I have to count it. But most people being in a relationship that long and it's struggling think that they need to go outside the relationship, or like I did at one time, think I should have married someone else. But you go and cheat, you go and marry someone else. But the problem is you will take your fucking self with you, all your beliefs, all your misunderstandings about relationship, and 1 year to 2 years, maybe even short of 6 months, every relationship starts looking like the last relationship.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why do I have really bad choices? Why do I keep picking the wrong girlfriend or the wrong husband, right? No. Go and stand in the mirror, right? I've got a friend that I speak to, and every relationship, he says the same thing. Oh, she went crazy, she went that. And I went, dude, there's a common denominator in all your relationships. He went, what's that? I went, you're fucking involved in it. He refuses to see it. He won't look at it. I said to him, till that changes, you will probably keep having the same relationship time and time again, you know? And it's about, you want to change your relationship, work on you. If my wife cheats on me and I take her back, and she cheats on me and I take her back, she cheats on me and I take her back, then that becomes my responsibility in that relationship, whether I want to put up with that or not, right? Yeah. Because people complain about the others, he did this, he does that. There's a part where you become aware and you take responsibility. Like my wife would say, there's certain aspects of our relationship that she said, enough's enough, I can't live like this anymore, I'm not going to live like this anymore. So I had to go out there and change me. I worked on me, you know, and she's had that realisation of some areas of her life that she's working on, which is beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah. Mm. And I think my kind of mantra is, one of my mantras, I've got many, the first relationship that we have is with ourselves. And only when we can we have that connection with ourselves and work on ourselves and find out who we are, can then we begin to have a relationship with anyone else. Mm. And do you know what I find is really interesting, Michael, is one of the things I say to people is, okay, what makes you the person you are? What do you stand for? What are your core beliefs and values? And they say, well, I don't know. Well, what makes you who you are? Why are you, what are you about? They have no idea. And then I say, okay, now start looking what it is. Because I know pretty much, I'm sure other people will see other facets of me, but I know what makes me who I am. I know what I'm about, what my strengths are, and what I'm not going to say weaknesses, they're not, but things I'd like to improve that maybe, yes, I'll admit to them, because I think that's an honesty about me. I can be intolerant, I can be impatient, I can be a bitch on occasions, and I'll own that because that's what's part of me. It doesn't mean that I'm not kind and compassionate and loving and sensitive and all of that. And I know what I stand for, justice and world peace and all that other stuff. But when you ask someone else, well, what do you stand for? They haven't got a clue. And then you say to them, well, what is it that your partner, what are their core beliefs and values? What drew you to them? Oh, well, he makes me laugh. Well, do you think your relationship can function on the fact that he makes you laugh? They don't look beyond that facile part of it. Yes, we have good sex. Well, good sex is a good part of a relationship. But you know what? We all change. We all, physical attraction is so facile because, sorry, but after a while everything goes south. And then you can keep spending a load of money on having everything lifted up. But actually that's false and it's not real. So it can't last. End up looking pretty grotesque if you have enough plastic surgery, if you can afford it anyway. But they don't ever stop and look at what is the real core beliefs and value. What is it that makes me? What is that sustains our relationship? It's quite interesting. And sometimes people don't know who they are. I didn't for a long time in my life because I was a people pleaser.
Yep.
I didn't know. I had to try and please everybody else because I had to try and keep the peace. My parents were always at each other's throats, didn't know what mood they were going to be, so I've got to try and make them happy. And then I didn't fit in, and then so I was trying to be what I thought other people wanted me to be. And we lose ourselves, don't we?
Yeah. I just had a conversation on the way around here, Wendy, with someone that's feeling lost in something in their life. With balancing their business, balancing their fun, right? Here's one thing I'd like to say. One of the biggest problems, and this is what I love to lead men back to as well and teach men, and that's what I've done on the retreat, is have some fucking fun in your life. Because guys have lots of fun. They get up, go to work, they come home, they're burnt out, stressed out, they have time with their family, they struggle with that, are disconnected, and they have no fun in their lives, right? The only fun that they think they have is going out on the piss, right? And then ultimately suffer with that the next day, right? But I was having that conversation with someone on the way around here about that. They're overworking, they're just completely disconnected from, not disconnected from their wife and all that, but they're struggling because of this thing, just overworking all the time, and they're trying to juggle everything and doing too much, and they're not having enough fun in their lives. And one of the things that I can see in a lot of guys' lives is they're not having no fun and adventure in their life. They're not. When they do, they feel guilty for it because they think they should be working more, or because, and here's the thing, is they get moaned at by their wife for going, so they're going to go and play golf or football. And the wife's like, well, we ain't really seen you. So then they stop doing it because the wife's moaning. But the problem is they're spending so much time at work, right, and doing other fun shit, going out to the pubs and drinking, the little bit of time they spend with their family and they want to go off and play football, the wife's like, well, what about me? What about me? What about time with me? So one of the things is creating more fun in your lives too. Create fun, have fun, it is all fun. It's a game. That's what it is. Life is a game. We have just decided to make it way too fucking serious, right? Way too serious.
And complicated. Our lives are so complicated.
We make it too complicated. And that's the thing what men do. They try and over their complex brains. Like, okay, you want to prove your health? Let's have a green smoothie in the morning. Oh, yeah, but what I've got to do is I've got to cut this out, do this, do that. Just fucking start with the basic. One thing, move your body, drink a green smoothie, right? You're not moving your body, you're not drinking a green smoothie. That's going to make a difference. And then you can slowly do that. What about this? What about that? What about all this complicated stuff? Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. And it is, and this is the thing that I've done in my life, is because my life was so complicated. I hate complex. I used to try and bamboozle people with my knowledge when I was in the health and fitness thing. I would read every book. I would try and bamboozle people with my knowledge, right? But then I stopped one day and I'm like, and this is what I say to guys is, okay, great. So that's your belief, right? That's what you believe. You believe in what's positive thinking. Great. You believe in positive thinking. Yeah. What are the results you're getting in your life? What are the results? Show me the results you're getting in your life. And you'll tend to find that there ain't no very good results. Or, I'm into the law of attraction. We were speaking this before. I'm going to attract all this stuff into my life. 10 years later, they're still in the same place. Maybe something a little bit different. It's like, look at the results you're getting. That's what I predominantly looked at mine in my relationship and other things is, what are the results I'm getting? They weren't great. So I wanted to change that, Yeah. Sorry, I was on a soapbox again.
And that's one of the things I really love about you. So passionate about what you've learned. And I think over those 4 years, whenever we've met or talked, your passion exudes from you because it's like a revelation. It's like what you're learning and it's opening you up and you just want to share it because it is, I've heard that. And that's what I've always admired about you. So it's just been great. And I thank you for sharing what you have because
the main thing is not so much what I've learned, it's more what I've learned about living it. It's living it. The passion comes from living it. I've learned a lot of stuff and I've taken what's worked and what's not, but it's about living it and applying it into my life and looking at results and then like, right, this is powerful. This is what works. Let's it's
I think that's part of the journey though, because you have to, first of all, you have to have that you've got to kind of understand what's going on. You've got to have that awareness. Then when you've got the awareness, it's what you do with it. And then you've got to, once you've got that, it's, well, now what do I want? And it is just part of that. And I think, again, that's what I've noticed with you, because once you started learning that stuff, you were just so full of it and you just wanted to share it so much. But now I see there's a difference in your approach because, as you say, you're living it and you're experiencing it and it's settled and it's just lovely. It's just lovely to witness. It's been great.
Thank you.
So what is it that, we've talked so much today. I think we could talk forever. But what is there anything that we haven't, one burning thing you want to say before we kind of end?
There's a couple of things that have come up for me, and I'll keep them brief. As I can. Is one of the things that I see as a struggle for men is they spend so much time doing and not enough time being. Right? And I spoke to you about that voice. Is allowing that time to slow down, to listen to that voice, because that voice, everyone has that voice, regardless whether you like it or not. There is that voice, gut intuition, wisdom that is going to be pointing you in the right direction. But it's whether you're listening to it or not, or drowning it out or sedating it, right? So I see a lot of guys spending 80% of their time doing stuff, and if they're lucky, 20% of their time being, right? Do, right? Because it's avoidance. And what I like to say to people is just switch that on its head. If you spend 80% of your time being, right, the most important thing for me when I work with guys is, who are you being, right? So when I say who you being, are you being your word? Are you being a man of integrity and honesty? Are you being a man of commitment? Yeah. Are you being a man of leadership within your own life? And I don't mean leadership as a title. I mean leadership in your own life. Are you practicing what you preach? Yeah. Are you doing what you say, or are you just telling people what to do but not living it yourself? That's one of the biggest things with my kids, is I will not tell my kids anything that I wouldn't do myself, So that's something like some guys can look at to go away with, is like, who are you being? Are you being the man on Instagram, Facebook, or with in front of people with a family man and all that, and then you close the door and your life's, if the cameras were rolling indoors behind the closed door, would it match what it looks like on the outside, right? Yeah. Or are you just flip-flapping bullshit and like I've done before, and it looks good on the outside, but on the inside, I'm kicking the cat up the arse. I'm wanting to bury my family in the garden, So that's one thing. And another one is there's so much misunderstanding and confusion about what a man is in the world today. One of the things that I found, I can't remember the guy who wrote it, and it's from a book, and it's a quote that I've got, and it says, true masculinity. I'm just going to read this. True masculinity, power, happiness. True masculinity is power and happiness when courage, integrity, vulnerability, compassion, awareness, and the capacity to take strong actions are all functioning together. Such power is potent but not aggressive, challenging but not shaming, grounded but not rigid, forceful but not pushy. Again, it requires head, heart and guts in full body alignment. And I think that's such a powerful quote, because vulnerability, integrity, and this is about who you're being, not what you do.
Yeah.
The physical body, right, doesn't make you a man. It does make you a man, right? Because obviously you've got balls and a penis, that makes you a man. But that isn't who you are. It's the sense like, oh, I've got to be muscly. That makes me a man, right? All the money you've got doesn't make you a man. Your job title doesn't make you a man. It's who you're being. Because that's how people will remember you. Not how much money you had in your penthouse, not how you looked, right? Because at some point, like you said, Wendy, I had a guy that said, well, a muscly Spartan's what a real man is. And I said, what happens if that muscly Spartan gets so ill he can never train again and loses all that weight? Does he stop becoming a man? Because at some point, he's going to lose that body as we get older. Does he stop being a man then?
Yeah.
His world, because he was like, oh, because we think it's all outside. So just a couple of things to leave on there, Wendy. And hopefully you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Michael. I just want to ask, how do people get in touch with you? I mean, I will put all the details in the show notes on the website from the podcast, but how do people get in touch with you?
Probably the best place is Facebook at the moment. My website is, I have my website done at the moment, which would be michealhilton.com. But just remember, if you're finding me, my name's spelled Micheal, but my website's not up at the moment. It's probably the best place. Just find me on Facebook, or just come find me on Facebook. You know, that's the best place.
Okay. So just repeat it. It's Micheal Hilton, Hilton. And they'll just search that and they'll find you.
Yeah, my mum said she wanted me to be unique and different. I just said bollocks. She just couldn't spell my name Michael. She spelled my name wrong. So I always remind her of that.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I hope the listeners have too. It's just been a delight catching up with you again. And thank you. Thank you for being a guest.
There's been no longer been on there. I've loved every minute of it. Thank you, Wendy.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.
So you can find all the information about this show in the show notes. And you can find lots more on my website, www.yourrelationshipspecialist.co.uk, including the link to my podcasts. And you can also sign up on my newsletter, which has lots more tips and offers. So until next time, bye for now.